X Wright Ace Attorney trilogy. I can't remember now with the count what part of the stream this must be, like 9 or 10. I think that might already be part 10 actually. But anyway. Yeah, let's continue right from there. Alright, let's go. So what do you think, Mr. Wright? I think the prosecution is as confused as we are. After all, the victim was murdered in 2 different places at the same time. And a different suspect was arrested at each of the crime scenes. Lana, good morning, Mr. Wright. I apologize for yesterday. I was indisposed. I hope they didn't hold you too long for questioning. We just finished, actually. I'm used to all-nighters, though. So how'd it go? It says Mr. Wright suspects the police are clueless. I figured as much, so I struck a plea bargain. A plea bargain? What do you mean by that? We agreed that if I told them the truth behind this simultaneous murder, they wouldn't seek capital punishment. That's what I mean, Emma. But Lana, don't tell me you... Much to my regret, I'm as much in the dark about this as they are. Miss Guy, we found trace evidence of a certain person in the police department's evidence room. It belonged to Officer Jake Marshall. What kind of trace evidence? Blood-stained fingerprints, to be exact. That's the trump card I have up my sleeve today. You do understand what this means, don't you? In order to defend my sister, you're going to accuse Mr. Marshall? We have to play the cards we're dealt. Isn't that right, Miss Guy? Do what you have to do, Mr. Wright. District Court's courtroom number 9. Court is now in session for the trial of Miss Lana Skye. The defense is ready, Your Honor. The prosecution is... I'm afraid you'll have to clarify. It takes 30 minutes by car to reach the police department from the prosecutor's office. Yet the victim, Bruce Goodman, was slain at both places at the same time. But that's not physically possible, is it? What's more, I hear the victim from the evidence room just disappear. Yeah, just disappeared. Yes, and the body eventually reappeared in the trunk of Mr. Edgeworth's car. Wow, this is one messed up trial, indeed. One of my duties as prosecutor is to present impartial evidence. Today I will present evidence relating to the murder at the police department. In so doing, I believe the way in which we should proceed will reveal itself. Now, that's what sets Mr. Edgeworth apart. He sounds so on top of things, even though he doesn't know what's going on himself. And that's supposed to be an admirable trait? Very well, let the trial resume. On the day of the crime, what exactly transpired at the police department? Mr. Edgeworth, you may call your first witness of the day to the stand. For its first witness, the prosecution calls the suspect of the murder that occurred at the police department. The suspect? You mean the so-called murderer? Oh boy. Things are getting wild from the get-go. Will the witness please state his name and occupation? Yes, sir, I am Officer Mike Meekins, sir. Is there a play on words on that one? Mike Meekins? Meekins? No, not that I can think of, no. My occupation is, that would be murderer, sir. So you're telling us you're a professional killer? Sir, it was me, sir. I'm the one who did it. I'll never kill anyone again, sir. You've got to believe me, sir. I actually would like to hear from you is, sir, I'm what you would call part of the younger generation, sir. A person whose actions adults can possibly comprehend. Please, Mr. Edgeworth, sir, help me, sir. Officer Meekins. Yes, sir. Give us your report of the crime. Consider that an order. Yes, sir, as you wish. After all, I'm part of a generation that must be told what to do, sir. You can't fault him for a lack of enthusiasm. Crime report, sir. Although it's not my normal duty, I was assigned to guard the evidence room that day. I spotted a suspicious man on the security screen and rushed into the room. I was only doing what I was trained to do, sir. I was suddenly attacked. I fought for my life, then I did it. After that, I passed out, until another officer smacked me awake. So the victim, Detective Goodman, attacked you? Do unto to others before they do unto you. Is it do unto two others? Or is it do unto others? It sounds weird when it's phrased that way. It sounds like a mistake to me the way that it was spelled out there. Ah well. That's the Meekins family motto, sir. I see. Then you fainted and a colleague helped you regain consciousness. Yes, sir. He knocked me upside the head, sir. Very well. The defense may begin its cross-examination. What I need here is more info to work with. Yeah, sounds like I'm gonna have to press him on for every little detail. That noise is starting to get annoying. What, the Larsen effect from his, I don't know how you call these things in English. Well, it is thing, anyway. Hi, RNG. Yeah, hi. Although it's not my normal duty, I was assigned to guard the evidence room that day. Why is that? Mr. Meekins, you work in the General Affairs Department, do you not? Yeah, the SFX, yeah. Yes, sir. I am in charge of hiring new recruits, sir. The feedback, yeah, from his device, yeah. Yikes, now there's a scary thought. Evidence transfer was taking place on the day of the crime, which meant many officers were given special tasks not ordinarily performed. I was in charge of guarding the Blue Badger, sir. The Blue Badger? Yes, sir, the lovely police mascot created by the Chief of Detectives, sir. I was to ensure it wasn't broken during the transferal process. That was my sole mission for the day, sir, but it was broken because one of its, things from its hat was broken. I see, sounds like a very, important mission. After the awards ceremony finished that day, there were so many people running around that I relocated the Blue Badger to the evidence room. Oh, so that's why you went to the evidence room. Tell us, what did you see when you got there? I spotted a suspicious man on the security screen and rushed into the room. In order to enter the evidence room, you need an ID card, am I correct? Precisely, sir. I have one right here around my neck. So then your ID number should be listed on here, right? There it is. I found it. This is the one right here. Could you please read us the number? Yes, sir. It's 4989596. That's my number, sir. I see. But the number 4989596. It's twice. Yeah, it's shown as being used twice. Please explain, witness. It's no real mystery, sir. The first time is when I relocated the Blue Badger to the evidence room, and the second time is when I went to go get him after everything settled down. I see, so it was during that second time when... Yes, sir. That was when I spotted the man on the security screen. Data added to the ID card record. I was only doing what I was trained to do, sir. I was suddenly attacked. So you were attacked. Can you please tell us exactly what happened to you? It was a knife, sir. A knife. Detective Goodman pulled a knife on you? What happened then? Well, with me charging in on him like that, he looked as surprised as I was. You aren't exactly the kind of person someone would want to run into. That's when I reacted, sir. I swung my arms like an octopus, struggling to detain him. That's how I got this gash on my hand. Maybe if it just kept your cool, your hand wouldn't be. When I saw the blood trickling down my arm, I panicked. I grabbed the man by his collar. I fought for my life. Then I did it. Yeah, hold on. Let me press for detail on that one. What exactly do you mean when you say you did it? I know I don't look the type, but I'm reading into kung fu films, sir. The man let his guard down for just an instant, so I snatched his knife from him. He took his knife, I spun him around and performed a disarming maneuver. I made sure to close my eyes like a man. See, he must have been desperate. The next thing I knew, his white coat was drenched in a sea of my blood, and then the next thing I knew, yes, he punched me right in my face, sir. After that, I passed out until another officer smacked me awake. I get the impression that he wasn't trying to threaten him with a knife. It was perhaps that piece of evidence that was found with the label around it. If he was relocating pieces of evidence from the SL9 case, he would have swung around, wielding the knife in his hand. And then that guy, being the nervous type that he is, he panicked, thinking he was getting attacked. So the other guy punched him in the face just to calm him down. Right? That's how I picture the scene myself. After that, I passed out until another officer smacked me awake. And who was that other officer? About what time did you regain consciousness? No offense, sir, but how am I supposed to know that? I wasn't conscious. Oh, right. According to the report from the officer that woke up the witness, it was about 5:30. He hit me right in the head, too. I woke up crying tears of pain. That's nice. I mean, it's nice that you recovered, that is. When I came around, though, I made sure to finish my mission, sir. Your mission? Yes, sir, the Blue Badger, sir. I returned him to the entrance before things got out of hand. Well, we can all rest easy now. I believe we now have a fairly accurate picture of what happened. Yes, Your Honor, only one thing remains unclear. Was the man this officer murdered really the victim? He's got a point. Yes, Officer Meekins, with regard to that, sir. Take a look at this, it was sent to my jail cell. Chief Gant delivered it to me just this morning, sir. Chief? Delivered it? What is that? A videotape? How 2003? Yes, sir, that's absolutely right, sir. A videotape, sir. It contains footage from the security camera in the evidence room. Objection! What? But I specifically asked if there was such a tape, and was told it had been mistakenly erased. That's quite a mistake. I just do what I'm told, sir. It's the only thing I'm really good at. Looks like communication with the police department is as good as ever. Well then, let's have a look. Show us the video of you murdering the victim. Oh, please stop using that word, murder, sir. It scares me. A video of a real murder. Just what are we getting ourselves into? I wonder if it was really a video file on the DS. I think it must have been. That would explain why it's so grainy. No, okay. No, it really does seem like it was really an attack on Meekins. Where did he go? You don't see him passing in front of the camera, so... in between those lockers, doesn't that look like a silhouette of someone? Well, I believe we're all thinking the same thing. How can we deal with these unsettling feelings stirred within us? What the hell was that ringing piece of plywood? Sir, that is the pride and joy of the entire criminal affairs department, sir. It's the Blue Badger, sir. Was it already broken on the footage? I didn't pay attention. Why am I not surprised this isn't going smoothly? Video from the security camera placed in the evidence room. Yes, well, anyway, this tape seems to prove that the witness did indeed encounter, someone in the evidence room. Your Honor, instead of relying on clearly incomplete footage, the witness's testimony will suffice. Is that alright with you, Officer Meekins? Yes, sir. As you wish, sir. Can I watch the video again? Ah, yeah, I can. Ah, yeah, the ear was already broken at that moment. Hold on a minute. Let me start it from the beginning. Ah, no, okay. What I thought was someone in between the lockers. Or wait. So the guy isn't there yet. In between the two lockers. Ah, no, okay, never mind. I thought it looked like someone was in between the lockers for some reason. Okay, so a glove fell down. That's one of the SL9 pieces of evidence because we found it on the scene of the crime. Yeah, where did the guy go? Unless he's like on the ground, so you can't see him on the camera here. But someone came after that recording to move the body afterwards. Yeah, but there's also one other thing that bothers me, because if Miles Edgeworth's car entered the parking lot at the prosecutor's office at 5:12 p.m., then the body wasn't already in the car at that moment. Unless it's not the victim who was at the prosecutor's office, in the evidence room at the police station. But there's no question that the other person was Detective Goodman, sir. I mean, he opened the locker, which required Detective Goodman's fingerprint to do. Yeah. The locker he opened is unquestionably Detective Goodman's locker, sir, so it must be him. No one else could have unlocked it. What's this about a fingerprint? Each detective has been given a locker equipped with a fingerprint-activated lock. These locks ensure that each locker can only be opened by the detective it belongs to. Intriguing. That would mean the victim at the crime scene would have to have been Detective Goodman. Very well, the defense may begin its cross-examination. I don't know where this cross-examination will lead, but everything begins with contradictions. That's where I have to start. His face can't be clearly seen in the video. Yeah, you can see that. You can say that again. But there's no question that the other person was Detective Goodman, sir. I mean, he opened the locker, which required Detective Goodman's fingerprint to do. The locker he opened is unquestionably Detective Goodman's locker, sir, so it must be him. No one else could have unlocked it. Isn't there any other way? However, the most important detail is not shown in the video. The man's face, sir. If I may say something, sir, please do. After all, you are the one being examined. I don't understand why the man's face is so important in this case, sir. I mean, it was his hand that opened the fingerprint lock. And it was his hand that tried to thrust his knife into my body, sir. My unsettled state can testify enough to this, sir. Yes, you have a point. The footage doesn't lie. That is, unless the defense can find a problem with it. Mr. Wright, let's check the court record again. Is there a problem with the security video? Well, I'm going to go on a hunch and say that there must be one. There is one thing in particular that seems rather strange. The fact that you don't see the victim going back to the left and leaving. These contradictions leads to the possibility that the man may not have been Detective Goodman. Oh? So no, it's something else then. What, this video contains such a contradiction? Objection! Interesting. Your Honor, I have a proposal. Yes, Mr. Edgeworth. I propose we have the defense point out to us this alleged contradiction in the video. He would want me to point it out. Was the locker already opened before, by the way? Maybe. Please show us this contradiction you speak of. I have to point out the problem in the video. This is the first time I've ever had to do that. You can do it, Mr. Wright. It's set up so you can fast forward, rewind, or pause the video. Just take a good look and be sure to point out the right thing. Please don't play it too many times. I can't stand watching this video. How did this guy ever become a police officer? Now then, Mr. Wright, please enlighten us. Where is this contradiction? If the light is already on, does that mean that the locker is already open? It's the only one with the light already on. The thing that's strange about this video has got to be this, Officer Meekins. Sir, do you mean me, sir? As I understand it, the locker apparatus works like this. When you grab the handle, a sensor reads your fingerprint if it's a match. Then the light comes on. Yeah, the light turns on and the lock is released. According to my very limited experience, that's the way I understand it, sir. If so, then something is seriously wrong with this picture. Yeah, the face of the victim is important because the locker was already open, so it could have been someone else who opened it. Yeah. It didn't necessarily have to be Detective Goodman. When the victim reaches for the handle to open the locker, let's rewind to a little earlier. And I can't shake the feeling that I see someone with a trench coat in between the lockers. Might just be me misinterpreting what I see, but it looks like it to me. Here, notice the light. What's this? It's already lit. Precisely my point, Your Honor. The locker was already opened before the victim grabbed the handle. Order! Order! What's the meaning of this? It's very simple, Your Honor. The locker wasn't locked on the day of the crime. But the locker locks are controlled by an electronic system. When the door is shut, the sensor is triggered, and the locker is automatically locked. Oh, I know. It must have broken down. Of course, I'm not an expert in this. That's not likely, Your Honor. The sensor would detect and report any malfunction. Ah, well, it just goes to show the novices should keep their mouths shut. That judge. So then, Mr. Wright, do you have an explanation? Me, Your Honor? Yes, why wasn't the locker locked? Me, Your Honor? Yes, well, you see, this isn't exactly my field. Let me check something very quickly. What time does the video start? At 17:14. And on the record, the card record, yeah, it shows him coming in only at 5:14, so 2 minutes later. Wait, what am I saying? No, it's the exact same time. So it must have been open before. But I doubt that it would be Miles Edgeworth, and I doubt that it would be Mike Meekins. It must be that 777, yeah, or 7 times the number 7 number that unlocked it before. It was already unlocked. What do you think, Miss Scientific Investigator? Maybe something like jammed the system sensor? Something jammed the sensor? Say, there's something else that seems out of place in this video. Yeah, I thought so too. There's got to be another clue somewhere in this footage. It looks to me like there's someone else in there. Very well, let's inspect the video once more. The locker was unlocked. Yeah. It's this thing that's been annoying me all along. It looks like someone. It looks like a trench coat to me. Yeah. I need to use my eye drops. Well, I don't get it. Would you mind if I borrowed your eye medicine? Don't look at me with those bleary eyes. Before your eyes get too teary, perhaps you should think this through again, Yeah, okay, so maybe it's just me misinterpreting what I see then. The locker was unlocked. Is it because the glove was you see a glove falling down afterwards? Maybe it was stuck in the door and jamming the thing. Yeah. Maybe that's the reason. Please watch closely. This is the continuation of the part I showed you earlier. Yeah, okay, yeah, so that's what it was. We found this glove on the scene. Yeah. What's this? Something white fell out of the locker. But sir, it's been my experience that things fall out when doors are opened. I often fall. I don't know what it is because he raised his objection before I could read. We can't be sure that item was completely inside the locker to begin with. What do you mean? The sensor triggers the lock when the door is shut. What if something was inserted, say, between the sensor and the door? Inserted? Yeah, in other words, it wouldn't have been locked properly. Another thing annoys me too. You know how when I checked the place earlier, there was something stuck in the leftmost door, the one where we found the fingerprints of Jake Marshall on the door. There was a piece of cloth that was stuck inside the door, but on the video footage here, it's not there. It's not there yet. This white thing wasn't inside the locker. It was stuck between the door and the sensor. Oh, I understand now, sir. It's just like my tie. 2 out of 3 times it gets stuck in the door when I get out of my patrol vehicle, sir. Instead of the door closing, yeah, right, okay. The object would have to be extremely thin to fit in the door. Not only that, it would also have to block electrical currents. It would need to be an insulator. Rubber gloves? Are they made of rubber? Ah, yeah, it is rubber. Okay. Yes, an insulator, but at a crime scene, there just might have been something that fits the description. But sir, by insulator, you don't mean... I think I finally got this figured out. Will the defense please present the relevant evidence? What was this insulator that was stuck in the locker door? Found this near the locker, on the scene, but we can't be sure that wasn't the victim's locker. Well, actually we can, because it says SL9 on the label. It has a tag that says SL9 incident. The video seems to depict the victim opening the locker, but that isn't the case. The lit lamp attests to this. On the day of the crime, even I could have opened that locker. Is this not so, Officer Meekins? Sir, it would appear so, sir. Order! 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 So, are we to believe then that the victim, whom this witness stabbed in the evidence room, was not Detective Goodman? Objection! Do not be misled, Your Honor. What do you mean, Mr. Edgeworth? Well, maybe we can have him testify what the guy looked like, right? He must have seen his face. What do you mean, Mr. Edgeworth? The defense has merely demonstrated that possibility and nothing more. The victim in the video was indeed Bruce Goodman. The prosecution will offer one more testimony to prove this. What? Officer Meekins, please testify about this. Sir, me, sir? I'm not sure what you're referring to, sir. Oh, you mean that, sir? Of course, sir. Is this a joke? Very well, begin your testimony. There was one other thing that proves the man was Detective Goodman, sir. To enter the evidence room, one must use their ID card. When an ID card is used, there's a record of it. At the time of the crime, the detective had used his card. No, it could have been someone else using his card. An ID card record, I see. I have the ID card record right here, Your Honor. The ID used at 5:14 is that of the victim. Just before the crime. Yes, without a doubt, this is the victim's idea. However, one thing does strike me as unusual. Several hundred cases should have been due for transferal. Why were there so few people using this room? This particular evidence room is only used for storing certain special cases. Special cases, extremely violent cases involving police staff. Just hearing that makes my hair stand on end. Me too, although it doesn't make much of a difference. Yeah, spiky-haired. Feelings right. There were only a few cases up for transferal there, and most were cleared up by noon. Right, I see. Now let us move on to the cross-examination. Yeah, but it doesn't have to be the owner of the cards using it. I'm going to press on everything because I have a hard time figuring out where exactly I'm supposed to object on this one. So unlike your earlier testimony, you believe this to be rock solid, do you? Yes, sir, solid as stone, sir. My hand wasn't wrapped in bandages. I'd even give the V for victory sign, sir. Couldn't he just use his right hand for that? Let's hear him out fully. As we've seen, one never knows what he might say until the very last second. Is that card hanging from your neck one of these ID cards? Yes, sir. This card right next to my cuff, sir. I keep it here so I won't ever forget it. But what if someone were to steal it from you, keeping it out in the open like that? Maybe I shouldn't wear it around my neck. Remember when I said 2 out of 3 times my tie gets stuck when I get out of my car? Well, the remaining time, it's my ID that gets stuck. Instead of the door closing, my ID card chokes me. Maybe I should just leave this one alone. At any rate, each police officer has only one ID card. Yeah, but it could have been stolen from the victim before that. Both the police department and the prosecutor's office can attest to this. Please proceed with your testimony. Yeah, okay. When an ID card is used, there's a record of it. Let it be noted that this is the record the witness referred to. Let me see. Yes, that would be it, Detective Goodman. What's the matter? According to this, Mr. Edgeworth, your name is on here. So it is, Your Honor. Not that prosecutor again. Hey, maybe he's behind all this. Being a prosecutor, he could hide the evidence. Mommy, is that man in blue a murderer? Shh, don't stare at him. You've got the wrong color, kid. It would seem the inquiry committee will want to speak with you again today. I have nothing to be ashamed of regarding my actions or their consequences. For now, let us continue with the cross-examination. Poor Mr. Edgeworth, it must be so difficult for him. What's with women and this guy? At the time of the crime, the detective had used his card. Mr. Wright, what do you think? I'm confused. What? The problem with this ID card testimony is far too obvious. It's not like Edgeworth to miss something like this. You're thinking too hard about it. Come on, let's show them what we've got. Okay, I already pressed on that. I already pressed on that. I already pressed on that. Earlier, I believe you testified that when you asked the man to show his ID card, he pulled a knife on you. Yes, sir. He didn't show me any ID card, sir. Don't you think that's odd? I mean, if he had his ID card, all he had to do was show it to you. There wouldn't be any reason to draw a knife. Maybe he just panicked. Everything stems from contradictions. Let's point them out. Or was the door already open? I can't see the door. When it pans furthest left, you can't see the door, so it's impossible to tell. Well, or they could use someone else's card. That's what I don't agree with. But I can't easily prove that. I'm going to present the card itself. Wait one moment, Officer Meekins. I'm not good at waiting, sir. I have the victim's ID card right here. I found it at the crime scene. That makes sense. No, not that crime scene. When I say crime scene, I'm not referring to the evidence room at the police department. I mean the other crime scene. The underground parking lot at the prosecutor's office. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it was not found at the police station. Your Honor, I have one more piece of evidence to present. It's a very important clue regarding the victim's ID card. Lost item report. It's only half completed. I had completely forgotten about that. I had forgotten I even had that in my possession. Yeah. Yeah, actually I had completely forgotten I had that in my inventory, so I didn't even think about it. But it shows that Detective Goodman had lost something on the day of the crime. Something important enough to fill out this report. Let me guess. You believe this something to be his ID card, right? I can't say for sure, but there is a high probability. On the day of the crime, Detective Goodman was not carrying his card. It would be easy enough if you just showed him the picture and asked him if this is the man that he saw. Why is nobody thinking of that in that court? That makes so much sense. Order, order. So now, what does this all mean? It can only mean one thing. It doesn't even require much thought. The man Officer Meekins encountered in the evidence room was not Detective Goodman, but rather the man who stole his ID card. Order! 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 Does the prosecution have a response? I have only one thing to say to the defense. Bravo, Mr. Wright. Bravo. Allow me to summarize the defense's argument. At 5:15 p.m. on the day of the crime, the man in the evidence room Officer Meekins encountered was not Detective Goodman. There are two grounds to support this. First, the locker in the evidence room was already unlocked. Second, the victim lost his ID card. Am I correct so far, Mr. Wright? Yes. What's he up to? That being the case, we must inevitably arrive at the second conclusion. If the victim in this video is a fake, then the murderer in the evidence room is also fake. In other words, the security camera does not show the instant of the murder. Huh? That is, well, I guess that's right. Is something wrong, Mr. Wright? Only moments ago you seemed content to be pointing your finger around. This isn't going to end well. Yeah, that means for me that there was only one real crime scene, and it's the one that my client is attached to. Oh boy. Exactly what you've gone to such length to prove. Explain yourself, Mrs. Edgeworth. The defense has already done the explaining for me. The victim in this video is a fake, which means a murder did not take place at the police department at 5:15 on the day of the crime. So the real crime could only take place at one location, the underground parking lot at the prosecutor's office, the murderer being Miss Lana Sky, the defendant. The evidence is compelling. A trustworthy witness observed the moment the defendant used the murder weapon. knew that testimony was way too shabby. It was all a trap from the beginning. The activity in the evidence room still leaves many questions unanswered. Who exactly was the victim Officer Meekins encountered? And where did this person disappear to? However, this trial's purpose is to examine only the murder of Detective Goodman. Just so, Your Honor. Mr. Wright, you have to do something or else Lana... Damn, what do I do? How am I supposed to get myself out of this mess? Should I? One moment, Your Honor. What now, Mr. Wright? Don't tell me you're objecting to what you've just proven. Of course not, but I almost walked right into the prosecution's trap. What are you talking about? This cross-examination has proven one thing and one thing only. The security video did not show the actual murder. Yeah. Right. However, it cannot be said that it is unrelated to the murder in the parking lot. Yeah, well, okay, that's not the first thing that I was thinking about, but if the idea was used to enter that room, how did it find its way to the other crime scene? Someone must have dumped it there afterwards. And since Lana Sky was arrested on the spot, it couldn't have been her. Specifically, large amounts of blood traces were found in the evidence room. The defense demands further examination into the truth of the matter. Mr. Edgeworth? Yes, Your Honor. If this court were to examine this further, other witnesses will be necessary. Is the prosecution prepared? I'm sorry, Your Honor. The prosecution considered the incident and the police department to be unrelated. We have not prepared any other witnesses for this incident. This just might be my chance. Time to call a certain Texas Ranger to the stand. You're going to call Chuck Norris? Mr. Wright, do you mean... Your Honor, the defense would like to request a specific witness. The man himself, Chuck Norris. Oh, whom do you have in mind? Someone who we have reason to believe knows the truth. The truth behind the activities that took place in the evidence room. Hold on a second. We can't see the locker with the blood stain because that thing is in the way. But I'd like to know if on the way out, if there is a trace of blood on that leftmost locker. There would be no trace of blood at that moment, but we see the cup lying on the floor right here. Okay, and then wait for it to pan the other way. Is there blood on the locker at that moment? No. Okay, no, it isn't. It isn't, but there's that thing poking out of the locker. So prosecution requests to hear this person's name before deciding whether or not to comply. Very well then, Mr. Wright. This person whom you would have testify. What is his or her name? Take that! Officer Jake Marshall. Why him? I can't let Edgeworth know everything just yet. He's in charge of the evidence room. I feel we should hear what he has to say. Okay, so he agrees to the defense's requests, right? Since he was responsible for guarding the room, we should hear his testimony. Fortunately, he works in the police department. We should need longer than 20 minutes to prepare. Very well. The court will take a 30-minute recess while the witness is subpoenaed. Subpoenaed? I don't know how to pronounce that. It's way too complicated a word. Will the prosecution please prepare the witness during this time? We will, Your Honor. Court is now in recess. Yep. There's no stopping you, is there, Mr. Wright? Huh? What do you mean? You called for Jake Marshall. It seems you figured everything out. Huh? I haven't figured anything out. Lana, you're the one who knows everything. Emma, you always know everything. Why don't you just tell us? Mr. Wright is trying his hardest to protect you. I don't recall ever asking for his protection. How can you be so cold? Don't you trust us? Don't you trust me? Help! Hope I'm not interrupting anything, pals. Oh, guess I am. I'll come back later. Wait, Detective Gumshoe, what is it? You've got a lot of nerve, pal, making a detective run all around while on duty. And to top it off, you called me here. I've seen happier people at funerals. Sorry, Detective. You better be, pal. Hey! I didn't see you there, Chief Prosecutor Sky. That's okay. So, have you brought what I asked? Oh. You mean this, right? What is this? My apologies, Detective. Due to my present circumstances, I was forced to use Mr. Wright's name when making my request. My name? Never in a million years would I have thought it was you who asked me. Could I bother you to bring me the SL9 incident files? I'll need them by noon. Talk about crazy. The SL9 incident? But Lana, that's... I thought Mr. Wright might need them, so I had them brought here. Here, you might do well to read them. I can't believe you, the Chief Prosecutor, were a witness in that case. SL9 incident files received from Lana Sky. Take it from me, you don't want anything to do with serial murders. Oh, what? Now that I've brought you your stuff, you're just gonna ignore me? Emma, but why? Why is your name in here? What? My name's in there? I don't know, unless... No, it couldn't be, Lana. This SL9 incident, is that... That's the classification number the police filed it under. 2 years ago, the rest of the world knew it as the Joe Dark killings. That Joe Dark? No, Lana. That's over with, no! Wait, Emma, wait, she ran away. You know what? I just remembered I gotta be somewhere. Sorry, pal, but I'm out of here. Jake Marshall, Angel Star, Damon Gant, Miles Edgeworth, not to mention Lana and Emma. Everyone involved in this case is connected to those killings 2 years ago. This can't be just a coincidence. Knowing you, you just might be able to figure it out. Time to get back to the trial, Mr. Wright. Best of luck. I'd better take a good look at this file. Yeah. Dun, 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 dun. The court will now reconvene for the trial of Miss Lana Sky. Emma didn't come back. Allow me to call the next witness to the stand, the officer in charge regarding the evidence room on the day of the crime. Actually, that's not true, since we know that it was the other guy, Mike Meekins, who was guarding it for one reason or the other. He said so himself. Witness, please state your name and occupation. Me, partner? Oh, I'm just a man, same as you, wandering the trails of civilization. Occasionally helping the elderly cross intersections when needed. Yeah, we get it. Oh, I know, you're a patrolman. As for my name, if you listen hard enough, you can hear the howling wind calling it out. To be exact, it's Jake Marshall, Your Honor. howling wind? I've never heard Edgeworth described that way before. Now, Mr. Marshall, let me ask you something. You were in charge of guarding the evidence room on the day the crime took place. Is this correct? According to the papers, partner. What do you mean? A desperado's soul is as boundless as the desert sand. No paper can sum it up. Maybe it's best we get on with this quickly. Please share with us your testimony of the day of the crime. In plain old English. Yeah, please. Stop using metaphors. My job was to keep a wary eye on that bone orchard. They said I was supposed to make rounds 3 times a day, but that ain't my style. Besides, the room's protected by 2 security systems anyway. If I remember right, I was at a street-side saloon at the time it went down. I'm just an innocent traveling man, so if you're out of ammo, it's time to hit the trail. I hit the trail, yeah, okay. I can't say I particularly care for your attitude. I can't say I care for your beard, but you don't see me complaining. Wait a minute, what do you mean by 2 security systems? I mean the security cameras and the ID card reader. I reckon even a cowpoke like you knows about those. Yes, well, what about the fingerprint-activated locks on the evidence lockers? Fingerprint-activated locks? What kind of newfangled doohickeys are those? He's not being very helpful. He's not that good with machines or with following orders. Everyone's got their weaknesses now, don't they, Mr. Prosecutor? This one seems like trouble. Okay, Mr. Wright, he's all yours. How exactly did you keep an eye on the evidence room? I just made sure nothing moved in the security camera monitor. That room's so still. Even time dies in there. I was just a caretaker who entered the recordings. You entered them? Videos of nothing aren't that useful. When the time would come, I'd erase a tape. If nothing unusual is recorded, tapes are to be erased every 6 hours. Every time I'd erase a tape, it felt like I was erasing a part of my life. This guy has a flair for the dramatic, but it isn't going to do him any good. So in actuality, you don't physically enter the evidence room. They said I was supposed to make rounds 3 times a day, but that ain't my style. Besides, the room's protected by 2 security systems anyway. If I remember right, I was at a street-side saloon at the time it went down. I'm just an innocent traveling man, so if you're out of ammo, it's time to hit the trail. Yeah, right. But you made your rounds on the day of the crime, right? Ain't you heard the word I said, partner? I told you that ain't my style. Oh, hi, SL. I have a sore throat these days, but it's only starting to get a little better now. It was a bit better this morning when I woke up anyway. I told you that ain't my style. I'm afraid I don't understand. No desperado I know lets rules get in his way. No desperados I know joined the police force. So, Officer Marshall, on the day of the crime, just between you and me, I didn't set foot in the evidence room that day. Well, I hope so too, yeah. There was a rubber glove stuck in the victim's locker. Do you know anything about that? Sorry, partner, can't say I do. I haven't been in that crypt in weeks. How does this guy avoid being fired? Besides, the room's protected by 2 security systems anyway. So hyped right now for the new Animal Crossing game? Well, I'm looking forward to it too, definitely, yeah. You used to be a detective, so you've used the evidence room in the past, correct? Of course, back in the day, my locker was a goldmine of evidence. And yet you didn't know about the fingerprint locking mechanism? Sorry, partner, I ain't good with machines. I couldn't even tell you how a bike works. That's quite incredible. The sensors on the locker handles cannot be seen. It's well known that some detectives are unaware of their presence. Now that he mentions it, Detective Gumshoe said something like that too. At any rate, it doesn't seem that this is relevant to the crime. throat feels like I have something stuck in it. It's really uncomfortable. If I remember right, I was at a street side saloon at the time it went down. What were you doing in a place like that? I was eating spaghetti. Not even Angel's steak lunches can beat that Perlos Vongo sepia pasta. Do you mean to tell us you abandoned your police duties to eat some noodles? Not all desperados eat tacos, partner. That's not what I meant. I hope this has at least taught you a lesson. That's strange. This is usually where Edgeworth says, "Did you not want to erase this year?" I'm just an innocent traveling man, so if you're out of ammo, it's time to I hit the trail. Out of ammo, Officer Marshall? That's right, partner, or I should call it evidence. If you plan to pin me to this crime, then you'd better draw, otherwise you're just wasting my time. My steel horse is waiting to carry me back west into the sunset. One thing seems clear despite being responsible for guarding the evidence room. The witness doesn't appear to have seen anything. Texans don't take orders from anyone, everyone knows that. Apparently your superiors don't. Okay, I have a trump card up my sleeve, so I'd best keep my cool. Before I use it though, I'd better up the ante. I want to present my findings, but I'm not exactly sure at what moment I'm supposed to present it. Here, maybe? Okay, there we go. Officer Marshall, doesn't it strike you as odd? That is, you being called to testify like this. After all, you weren't in the security room at the time of the crime, and yet you dragged me down here. Explain yourself, partner. It's quite simple. You left a very large trail behind at the scene. Or to be exact, a handprint. Listen real good, partner. Like I said, I'm the caretaker of that crypt. I pay my respects, that is, make my rounds about once a month. It's only natural my fingerprints would be in there. Yeah, but not in a blood stain. I only wish it were, officer. But you see, your fingerprints were covered in blood. Witness, what's the meaning of this? Your blood-stained fingerprints were at the crime scene. The blood was wiped away, however. A luminol test clearly revealed this. Well, Officer Marshall, it seems to me there ain't a person in this room with a head on his shoulders. I take it you have an explanation then, Officer Marshall? About the blood-stained fingerprints? Very well, you may begin your testimony about your fingerprints found at the scene of the crime. Like I said, it's only natural for my fingerprints to be in that evidence room. One of them just happened to be at the same place as the blood-stained handprint. The murderer touched the locker where my fingerprint was by chance. The bloodstain and the fingerprint are completely unrelated. Or didn't you know the murderer was wearing gloves? See? I had nothing to do with it. The witness's explanation appears valid, although there's room for doubt. Life wouldn't be fun without any doubt, partner. Defense may now cross-examine the witness. This guy is hiding something, I can feel it. Now's my chance to prove it. Bloodstained fingerprints. Someone in his family apparently was affected. Neil Marshall. Yeah. His father, maybe? His old man? Scene of the stabbing of the detective at the PD. Yeah, but why was the print had been wiped? Why? No. Chances of that happening are 1,000,000 to 1. On the contrary, one could argue just the opposite. The chances of that not happening are 1,000,000 to 1. Get one thing straight, partner. You ain't gonna get no reward from me with a mere fingerprints. You wanna know why? Unrelated? They're as different as night and day. Kinda like cereal and cereal. One's got to do with breakfast while the other is a type of murder. He's right, although seemingly alike, they are totally different. I don't see what homonyms have to do with this. Yeah, how do you know that? I may be a loner, but I still do my job. I keep up on the reports. There was a bloodstain at the scene, though thought to be left by the murderer. That's right. It was found on Detective Gumshoe's locker. However, no fingerprints were detected on that handprint. Oh yeah, I think we tried that too. So that would mean the murderer wearing gloves happened to place their hand on top of Officer Marshall's fingerprint. That's the only logical conclusion. I can't let him squirm out of this one. I've got to find something decisive to tie Officer Marshall to this crime. He has something to do with the SL9 case, but I think this is not the time at which I'm supposed to. Is it his locker, that one? The one with the fingerprint on it. Is that his? Because on the tape, you see that how should I say? That safe has been opened at the moment of the crime. Because you've got nothing hanging out of it at that moment, but at the end of the video, there is a piece of cloth that's hanging out. So if it is his, and besides the light is not on it, so it was closed. I'm not sure. I've pressed him on everything. not sure. No. No, not safe. Yeah, reload it. Oh yeah, I've already had that one. Yeah, and you can clearly see the piece of cloth hanging out from it on that one. Pay your respects once a month. That and one more thing, that locker happens to be mine. Ah, yeah, there we go. I mean what I said. That's the locker I used when I was a detective, the locker I still use. All that's in there now, though, is a heap of broken dreams. I see. It'd be strange if my prints weren't all over that locker. Apparently his fingerprint data was never removed from that locker's programming. He must have been using the fingerprint lock all this time without ever knowing it. Are you starting to get the picture, partner? Yeah. But now I have something to raise a contradiction, because now that I know that it's his locker, and I can prove that the locker was opened seconds after the scene that you can see on the VHS, I can raise the fact that he was on the scene of the crime, well, or at least in the evidence room that day. This seal of blood in the desert is just food for the buzzards. There's only one reality, and that's this. The security tape. So long as my trade isn't in there... Oh, but it is. It is! This isn't getting us anywhere, Mr. Wright. Please consider carefully where you're going with this cross-examination. Now then, continue your testimony, Officer Marshall. But it was him! Ah! I have proof that it's him. It's in the video itself. Or should I press on that one? What do you mean by that? You want to tie me to this crime, isn't that right, partner? If so, that video is the only direct evidence you have. But that video is next to useless. It's full of blind spots. Blind spots? Places you can't see. The camera is panning back and forth. The floor isn't shown. If someone was familiar with the camera's position, they couldn't leave the room without being caught on tape. We don't have time for your speculations, Mr. Wright. Well, Mr. Wright, if you can show us evidence in this video that indicates Officer Marshall was present, please do so. Ah, yeah, okay. Now I can do so. Very well. Allow me to point out your mistake, Officer Marshall. Tread carefully, Mr. Wright, or you might wind up being the one making the mistake. Now then, let's have another look at the video. Show us this incriminating... Yeah. Fast forward to the end. Right, it's not there yet at that moment. Take that! Take that! Bringing our attention back to the security camera is a mistake I'm afraid you'll soon not forget, Officer Marshall. The days are short in Texas, and so are our tempers. Could you sum up what you have to say in 8 words or less? Very well. It can clearly be seen in this video. How many words does that make? 8. Exactly 8 words, not bad, partner. The key lies in a certain locker shown in the video. That locker with the white cloth sticking out, that was the witnesses, I believe. Now then, let's rewind the video a bit. Oh, the white cloth, it's gone. What's the meaning of this, Officer Marshall? When the crime took place, the white cloth wasn't there. Then it suddenly appeared. There's only one explanation. Officer Marshall, you were in the evidence room at the time of the crime. What's more, you opened your locker when the camera was turned away. Order! Order! Hold your horses. Sorry, partner, but you got the wrong man. So what if my locker was opened? That doesn't mean I'm the one who opened it. The murderer needed to hide something, so he opened the locker and stuck it in. It's not my fault he happened to choose mine. Why is everyone staring at me like I'm a wanted man? This guy isn't just playing dumb, he really doesn't know. I hate to rain on your parade, but you're the only person who can open that particular locker. Oh yeah? I call your bluff. You see, I opened that locker, now prove it. Well, I have a piece of evidence that says... Yeah, that. Fingerprint sensor. We talked about this earlier today. The lockers can only be opened by the detectives they belong to. What kind of crazy talk is this? Well, Detective Gumshoe did mention something about this. In any case, the locks aren't that obvious. There are even some people on the force that don't know about the fingerprint locks. So, Sheriff, what do you have to say in 8 words or less? I only got 1 word for you. No! Order, order, order! Witness, explain yourself. If this is a joke, it's the worst I've ever heard. I assure you this is no joke, Officer Marshall. Jeez, I feel like I have something stuck in my throat. Disgusting. I assure you this is no joke, Officer Marshall. Now then, please tell us what you were doing in the evidence room at the time of the crime. Ole, please answer the question. What is he now, a bullfighter? That's alright, Officer Marshall. I believe we can figure out the rest out from here. We can? Have a look at these floor plans. There is no place for someone to hide in the evidence room. Yet Officer Meekins didn't see Officer Marshall. If that's so, then where was the witness? It seems Mr. Wright has an answer. That's right, the only possible conclusion. Well then, let's hear it. Where was Officer Marshall at the time of the crime? He was the victim? Or is it the thing I noticed earlier? Take that! Officer Marshall was standing right here. There, but that's where the victim, Detective Goodman, was. Correct, unless the man wasn't Detective Goodman. I believe the victim isn't in the video is Officer Marshall. It was you dressed up like Detective Goodman. But that's preposterous. Officer Meekins witnessed the detective at the crime scene. Once he saw the man's face, he'd know for sure. Yeah, Officer Meekins did not know Detective Goodman. He also testified about the man's reaction when confronted. When I entered the evidence room, I asked him to show his card, sir. Yes, and how did Detective Goodman respond? He suddenly pulled a knife on me. Something about the officer's story puzzled me. Yeah, not to mention that the guy, Marshall, is always carrying a knife. You see him cutting his beard with it. If the man had had his ID card, why didn't he just show it? Yes, he would have needed it to enter the evidence room, so he must have been carrying it. The answer is simple, he couldn't show it. As you can see, Detective Goodman's picture is on his ID card. Oh, I get it. If he showed that, his cover would have been blown. Officer Meekins would have realized the man wasn't Detective Goodman. Do you have anything to say to this, Officer Marshall? You've got quite an imagination, partner. We got a term for that. It's called circumstantial evidence. Circumstantial evidence? Still denying it. You're gonna have to do better than that to break a detective. Unless you have hard evidence proving I dressed up as the victim. I can't say I particularly care for your uncooperative disposition. I can't say I care for your beard, but you don't see me complaining. Yeah, that's what he said earlier. Well, Mr. Wright, do you have any evidence proving beyond a shadow of a doubt that Officer Marshall dressed up as the victim? Actually, do I? Do I have evidence? Can we see anything in there? He must be right-handed. Do I have evidence? Let me save again. Well, who am I kidding? I don't have anything like that. I can see the fear in your eyes, partner. Seems you're the one who couldn't take the desert heat. Ah, this can't be happening. It's so obvious is the one. What can I do? It looks like your lack of experience has finally been exposed. I'll pass on to you what someone told me when I was just starting out. When you've run into a wall with no place to go, return to the basics. The basics? For me, that would be what Mia used to tell me. Phoenix, try thinking outside of the box. Yeah, but I'm trying. I shouldn't look for proof that Officer Marshall was in disguise. But rather, I should look for evidence that came about because he was in disguise. Why do you think this locker was opened in the first place? What do you mean? There's no reason for Officer Marshall to open his locker at the time of the crime, yet he did, despite the chance it might be discovered later as it has been. Which means he didn't originally plan to open his locker. According to the defense's argument, Officer Jake Marshall dressed up as Detective Goodman at the time of the crime. Then after the crime was committed, he opened his own locker for some unknown reason. And there's a piece of cloth hanging out now. The fact that a white cloth is sticking out of the locker seems to indicate that he opened it in order to put the cloth inside. So, just what exactly is this piece of cloth? Perhaps the video is the key to all our unanswered questions. I don't have any evidence, so this video is on my only shot. Is it possible that it's the trench coat? Is it possible? Take that! For some reason, you disguised yourself as Detective Goodman and entered the evidence room, though I don't know to what end yet. However, something unexpected happened. Yeah, Officer Meekins barged in on you. When asked to show your ID card, you pulled a knife on him. However, Officer Meekins panicked, and the white coat you were wearing was soiled with blood. A bloody white coat? You couldn't just walk out like that, so you hid the coat in your locker. Yeah, and a coat takes up a lot of room, especially a big one like that, so the lower hanging parts of the coat would be hanging outside of the locker if you tried to shove it in there. Not bad, partner. Now then, Officer Marshall, are you ready to tell us the truth? Looks like I underestimated y'all. I hope you're happy now, Mr. Edgeworth. 2 years ago, if you were only half as persistent then as you are today, we all wouldn't have to be here now, would we? Officer Marshall, tell the court what you did. All of it. Alright, it seems the time has come. I had to do it that day. I couldn't just stand by and let it die. I stole the detective's ID and dressed like him. I planned to take out the evidence. I wasn't expecting Officer Meekins. I knocked him out and managed to escape. I knew which areas wouldn't be caught on the camera. There wasn't any murder in the evidence room at 5:15. Oh. So the supposed victim was really you. But there's one thing I still don't understand. Traces of a large quantity of blood were found on the floor of the evidence room. If no one was murdered, then how could that be? From the hand of Meekins, I guess, but that's not good for my client. Officer Meekins managed to cut his own hand. My guess is he's the donor. Yeah, it was way too much blood for such a small donation. Maybe the murder didn't happen at 5:15 then. Do we have an autopsy report saying that? Yeah, he died within an hour and a half of 4 p.m. So that only means that he couldn't have died later than 5:30, but he could have died earlier than that. Is that it? What I say makes sense, but the game is not programmed to let you point out that evidence at that moment. The murder could have happened at a different time. Everyone involved here is related in some way to that case. I'd better take another look at the files. Wasn't expecting Officer Meekins. I knocked him out and managed to escape. I knew which areas wouldn't be caught on the camera. There wasn't any murder in the evidence room at 5:15. Someone else went in there. Ah! Let's press him on every little detail, and I guess. When you say it, you mean... Do you even have to ask, partner? The SL9 incident. 2 years have passed since that case was closed. It was going to completely end with the transferal that day. Not if I have anything to do with it. That incident's not over. But what did you hope to accomplish by sneaking into the evidence room? When a case is closed, only that case's lead detective can look through the evidence. I wanted to have a look at it myself one more time, no matter what the cost. I don't care what anyone says, partner. That case is mine. But Officer Marshall wasn't in charge of that investigation. Why does he care so much about it? That day was my last chance. That's why I... Or do I present the file here, maybe? Point out the name in the file? No, okay. That's not what it is. Why did you disguise yourself as Detective Goodman? If I didn't make it look like Goodman was carrying out the evidence transferal, I'd be arrested for stealing evidence, which wouldn't get me anywhere. So you did it to fool the security camera. And the detective's ID card? I stole that the morning of the incident. So that really was why Goodman started filling out that lost item report. I returned his ID card. I left it on the floor in the prosecutor's office parking lot. The ID card I found was left there by Officer Marshall, so essentially, you managed to succeed despite your lack of foresight. What do you mean, partner? I mean the fingerprints, yeah. No matter how well you disguise yourself, you can't change your fingerprints. Under normal circumstances, you wouldn't have been able to open that locker yourself. But he could, because a rubber glove just happened to get stuck in the door. That means Detective Goodman must have opened the locker before Officer Marshall. I wasn't expecting Officer Meekins. I knocked him out. The person who went in there must have been that other person then. The one with the badge numbered 7777777. Let's just say I was a little surprised. I only planned on being in the evidence room for no more than 5 minutes. I didn't think anyone would actually come in during that short time. Professor Meekins certainly is a one-in-a-million type of person, mistaking a detective for an intruder and demanding to be shown his ID. I had to think a little more about his race this year. When did Edgeworth get so much influence? Anyway, he threw himself at me and I ended up cutting him slightly. I'm sorry it had to turn out that way, with me knocking him out and everything. By the way, what happened to your knife? Oh, you mean this one? I don't know what to say. So you knocked Officer Meekins out and managed to escape. I knew which areas wouldn't be caught on the camera. So you did your research beforehand. Those who go into the desert unprepared don't live long, partner. I didn't think it would make a difference though. Security tape is erased every 6 hours. If all had gone as planned, no footage would have been left. However, you bloodied your coat in your struggle with Officer Meekins. If someone was in the security room when I came out, the jig would have been up. I opened my locker and stashed it in there. What was Officer Meekins doing during that time? What else? He was sleeping like a baby. So what you're saying is, on that day, there wasn't any murder in the evidence room at 5:15. I had a feeling we'd wind up, yeah. Didn't I already press on that one? But the blood found on the scene certainly indicates the crime took place. What, are you blind? The victim shown on that tape is me, and I'm not dead yet, partner, so you stole the evidence from the locker. Actually, no, I didn't. Why not? When I opened the locker, the evidence was already gone. What? Mr. Edgeworth, where is that evidence? It's still missing, Your Honor. Isn't it the knife? Detective Goodman's locker was already empty. Someone else stole the evidence. Officer Marshall, may I ask you one thing? Fire away, partner. It's a free country. Just remember, I'm also free to decide whether or not to answer. Why did you do this? Stealing a detective's ID, injuring a police officer. This is no small offense. Moreover, you're an officer yourself. This would have serious consequences. It can't just be forgiven with a simple cut in salary. Not that salary cuts are ever a valid solution. Like I said, this isn't your case, this one is mine, and I'll do anything it takes to get an answer I'm satisfied with. The witness has an unusual amount of zeal. That's how it's pronounced, right? Zeal, I think. Let's hear more. I know why. That's it, right? There's that name, Neil Marshall, in the file. Officer Marshall, I think I understand. I think I know why you care so much about the SL9 incident. Sounds like you've been sipping too much cactus juice, partner. I have the SL9 incident file here. The name Marshall is mentioned in here. In the list of murder victims. Neil Marshall, are you related to this man? Neil Marshall? Yeah, I'm sure you've heard the name. 2 years ago. He received the same lousy prosecutor award you got. What? A prosecutor? He must be talking about the King of Prosecutors award. Now I remember, Prosecutor Neil Marshall. He handled the SL9 case before I did. That's right, he was killed, and the case fell into your hands. But what's his relation to you? He was my brother. Ah, yeah, brother. Yeah, if it was only 2 years ago, yeah. From the look of the man, yeah, he couldn't have been the father. He was investigating the murders with Damon Gant, the then deputy chief of police. Oh, okay. The group of detectives I was part of worked under them. We were desperate to prosecute the killer. Joe Dark. My brother fought Dark and was killed. Darky? Or is it Darky? That was the first time Dark left behind any evidence. That was all we needed. He was arraigned and incarcerated. The case was finally closed, at least according to the public records. What do you mean? My brother couldn't have been killed by Joe Dark. I knew my brother better than anyone. No one could have beaten him in a fight. And that's it? That's your reason for your insane actions? There's more to my brother's death than what the records say. No matter how much you try to hide it, you can't fool me. Well, at least one thing's for certain. Now we know what happened at the police department on the day of the crime. That was the last day of the SL9 case could be reopened. Not satisfied with its resolution, Officer Marshall planned to steal the evidence. Disguising himself as Detective Goodman, he entered the evidence room. Officer Meekins confronted him, so he rendered him unconscious and fled. Yes, this mystery has finally been cleared up. No murder took place at the police department that day. The things that happened by chance never cease to amaze. At exactly the same time as the murder at the prosecutor's office, this fake murder was going on at the police department. Chance? It's got to be more than just that. So if no one was murdered at the police department on the day of the crime, that means the murder in the prosecutor's office parking lot was the real one, which in turn means only one person could have committed the crime, Chief Prosecutor Lana Sky. But wait, the verdict wasn't reached in yesterday's trial. Which is why we examined the incident at the police department today. But there's only one reason the defendant was not convicted yesterday. There yet remained the mystery of the simultaneous murder at the police department. It seems to me this boy's got to draw on you, partner. All of the mysteries at the police department have been resolved, no doubt about it. Our sole murder took place at the prosecutor's office. The only suspect is Lana Sky, and the testimony of one Miss Angel Star is completely incontestable. If you have a response, make it a single word or less. The amount of blood at the police department still tells me that there was a murder taking place there. I rest my case. It seems this trial has reached a conclusion. There is no room for doubt. Well done, Mr. Wright. Thanks to you, I didn't need to waste my time disproving the alleged murder at the police department. There's no doubt what I proved today is true. The apparent murder on the security camera tape really was fake, but I didn't realize. That would end up proving Lana guilty. No, it doesn't. Not quite. Don't give up yet. Now then, the time for the verdict has arrived. This court finds the defendant... No. Hold it. Your Honor, wait. Emma, the defense has an objection. A scientific objection. Right? What do you mean, right? Mr. Wright, are you this girl's guardian? Your Honor, in a sense. Please, Your Honor, all I'm asking is for a minute of your time. Please hear me out. Mr. Edgeworth, please. I don't want to leave any loose ends. You want a minute? I'll give you 3. I was kind of in shock. I mean, finding out the SL9 incident referred to the Joe Dark killings. Now that she mentions it, the names of both Kai's sisters were in that file. But that's when I figured it out. I mean, what Officer Marshall was trying to do that day, so I knew his fingerprint had nothing to do with the crime. That left only one thing, the other handprint. You mean the traces of blood found on Detective Gumshoe's locker? But no fingerprints were found on it, right? No, but I figured if I examined it scientifically, I'd be sure to find a clue. So I ran over there and looked at it again. So, did you find something? No. Huh? Sorry, I guess I'm not much of a scientific investigator after all. Is that all? Please don't be mad, I'm just a high school student. And I'm just an attorney. But Mr. Wright, those traces of blood are the only clue we have. If we can't find something wrong with them, please, Mr. Wright, you're a professional. If anyone can save Lana, it's you. Me? Oh boy. Time's up now then, Mr. Wright. With regard to the incident and the police department, does any reasonable doubt remain? It appears the defense is troubled by the other blood mark. Looking at the floor plans, a handprint was discovered around here. Is there a problem with this? Mr. Wright, I'm sorry I can't be of more use, but still, if you can't find anything wrong with that blood mark, yeah, please answer my question, Mr. Wright. We don't have all day. Yes, Your Honor. If ever I've needed to concentrate, is now. What could be wrong with that handprint on Detective Gumshoe's locker? Could there be something I'm missing? That's not the biggest problem with that scene, in my opinion, but... I don't have the other one in my evidence file here. In my court record. Yeah, what's with that one, by the way? AI 16. What's that one? Recovers fingerprints from handprints, blah blah blah. Who left it there, maybe, I guess? Objection! His handprint left at the crime scene clearly shows a contradiction. I just don't know what it is yet. I'm not sure about it. The only thing that seems clear is your grasping, Mr. Wright. You've been staring pretty intently at those floor plans. Tell me, is there a problem with them? Yes, this is strange. Take a good look at these floor plans. Something is missing. Missing? You mean something hasn't been drawn on there? Yes, something that, when drawn, will completely change the meaning of the blood mark. I have my own spittoon for me for today. Let us pray the defense isn't simply trying to buy time. Very well, Mr. Wright. With all this evidence here, there's got to be something I can use. The question is, which item can prove something is missing in the floor plans? My own, right? I have my own. As they say back west, even a blind man can hit with a buckshot. That is, so long as he's facing the general direction. It seems Mr. Wright's not sure which direction to face. It's no use. The more evidence there is, the greater the chance of me being wrong. But, come on, I wasn't wrong. Try and remember what the evidence room was like on the day of the crime. What is it that bothers me about this blood mark? Please allow me another chance, Your Honor. I'll prove it this time. Could it be the tape? We can't see on this one. Yeah, right. My cat wants to get out, so I have to leave for a minute. That's weird because where the guy is stumped on the wall there. He would have been in the pool of blood on the ground. What, this one? What, that? What about that piece of plywood? What, that's it? The Blue Badger. Mascot of the police force. Defender of truth. Guardian of proof. Explain yourself, Mr. Wright. Oh, actually, it was the right thing. I was only grasping. Please look at the floor plans of the crime scene. The Blue Badger is not here. So watch what happens when I put him in. This is where he was dancing at the time of the crime. Well, what? Yeah, that's right. So long as the Blue Badger is dancing here, it would be impossible to place a handprint at the spot on the locker. What? Don't we clearly see on the video the guy walking by in between the lockers and the Blue Badger? That will leave plenty of space there. Or is the guy passing in front of it? Ah, no, he is passing in front of the Blue Badger. Okay. Okay, then fair enough. So that means just exactly what does that mean? It means it can't be done. What are you saying? Blood traces were undeniably found on that locker. Don't look at me, I didn't put there. Mr. Wright, think it through scientifically. It was put there before or after? On that afternoon. Officer Meekins was the one who brought the Blue Badger to the evidence room, right? After he put it down, it would be impossible to leave a handprint on that locker. So that must mean this blood mark was left there before the Blue Badger was brought in. Just one moment. I will not allow such far-fetched balderdash in my courtroom. It may sound far-fetched, Your Honor, but it's the only possible explanation. On February 21st, in the police department's evidence room, blood was spilled not once, but twice. But how? One time was captured on this tape, taken by the security camera. Officer Meekins cut his hand, from which a trivial amount of blood fell. The problem is the other time. Someone bled prior to the struggle shown on this tape. It had to have been Detective Goodman. It's ridiculous. I refuse to accept your absurd claim. The murder portrayed in the security tape has been proven to be a fake. However, that does not explain the blood mark found on the locker. So then, assuming this murder you perpetrate really happened, when did it take place? I demand you show evidence that proves when it occurred. When did the first incident occur? I have two pieces of evidence that could indicate that it could have taken place here at a different time. Well, actually, the two together prove the place and the time, but prior to Officer Meekins being cut by Jake Marshall, who was posing as Detective Goodman, another incident took place in that evidence room. That's right, the blood mark on the locker proves this. Very well, then tell us, when did this first incident occur? As Mr. Edgeworth said, proof must be presented. Proof that shows when the murder took place. There's only one piece of evidence that can show that. If the crime took place inside the evidence room, then the killer would have had to enter it, and in order to do so, an ID card would have been required. An ID card? Oh! The ID card record! Officer Meekins brought the Blue Badger panel into the evidence room at, let's see here, 4:50 p.m. If the crime took place before that time, then it would be 4:40 p.m. Miles Edgeworth, just what have you done? I never would have figured you had the nerve, boy. Drop the act, witness. It doesn't take a lot of thought to figure out it couldn't have been me. Nope, I ain't getting it. I'm afraid I don't understand either, and it wasn't... It's clear from the luminol test that blood was there. However, when the second crime took place, both Officer Meekins and Officer Marshall failed to notice the blood. That means the blood from the first crime was wiped away, but by the real murderer. I would have had just 10 minutes to murder the victim, carry his body away, and clean up the blood. Unfortunately, that's physically impossible. That would mean the crime must have taken place before Mr. Edgeworth entered the evidence room. Let's look at the chart again. Yeah, that number. Those 7s. Yeah, talk about the lucky number, but wait, that doesn't make sense. How could Detective Goodman have entered the evidence room, since there is no record of his card being used beforehand? He must have entered along with the real murderer. That's the only plausible explanation. He went in with 7777777. Mr. Edgeworth, please look into this ASAP. Find out whose ID number is 777777777. That's 1 7 too many, Your Honor. Unfortunately, I'm unable to look up the owner of that ID card, at least at present. What? Explain yourself, son. The ID number belongs to someone with a higher rank of captain or higher. Someone who is a so-called executive officer. We don't have the authority to inquire into such a person's identity. But that's ridiculous. Just how? I'm not finished talking, Mr. Wright. There is one situation in which we can be granted such authority. If an official charge filed against an executive is accepted. You're all alike, aren't you? With your cover-ups and your forgeries. That's how the prosecutor's office operates. I take pride in my work, Officer Marshall. I would appreciate it if you would keep your slander to yourself. Slander, is it? Okay, let me ask a question. Yes? No, not you. To her, the defendant sitting over there. Your own little executive. Lana? Don't be stupid. She's been charged with murder. Of course, we've looked up her ID number, and it's not 7777777. Don't play me for a fool, partner. That's not what I want to ask. All I want to know is one thing about that incident. The SL9 incident? Answer me this, Chief Prosecutor. In that trial 2 years ago, did you really only use legitimate evidence? Do you need the witness to repeat his question, Chief Prosecutor? I heard him fine, Mr. Edgeworth. 2 years ago, I was in charge of the prosecution for that trial. At the time, occasionally we felt the powerlessness of the law. At least, I did. Lana! I became a prosecutor in order to suppress crime with the law. But before I realized that we were the ones being suppressed by the law. Defendant, just what are you saying? I'll ask you again, Chief Prosecutor. During that trial 2 years ago, did you really present all the evidence in court? Can you look me, an investigator in that crime, in the eye and say that you did? Chief Prosecutor, you didn't. I don't have to, Officer Marshall. Why won't you answer him? Drastic crimes require drastic measures. That's just the way it is. We did what we had to in order for him to get the verdict he deserved. But Lana, even if it involved forging evidence. Oh. See? That's what I'm talking about. No. No! Order! 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 Lana's remarks caused such a stir the chaos in the courtroom could not be quelled. The conclusion, blah 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 blah, would have to wait until the following day. To be continued. Let's save. I'm going to get something for my throat, trying to calm that down because it's really on fire right now. I will also check my temperature while I'm at it. Okay, I need this. And I'll put the thermometer. Right. There we go. Let's see. I'm so sorry, Mr. Wright. I'm sorry for what my sister said. Drastic crimes require drastic measures. That's just the way it is. We did what we had to, in order for him to get the verdict he deserved. I didn't know. I never knew that the SL9 incident was just another name for the Joe Dark killings. Sounds like everyone's heard about these killings but me. Lana wanted Dark convicted so badly. That's why she used me. That's why she used what happened to me. What do you mean, what happened to you? It's all there in the file. Joe Dark's last victim was Prosecutor Neil Marshall. When he murdered Officer Marshall's brother, he left behind an incriminating piece of evidence. But what did you have to do with those killings, Emma? On the night Prosecutor Neil Marshall was murdered, Joe Dark tried to kill me. What? He tried to kill you? Yeah, Officer Marshall's brother Neil was only trying to save me. So that means you... Yes, I was a witness in the Joe Dark trial. I didn't see that one coming. It happened 2 years ago. It was right about this time of the year too. There was a terrible thunderstorm that day, unusual for the season. I was alone in my sister's office. We were planning to eat dinner together once she finished her work. Then suddenly, this terrifying man came bursting into the office. I was checking on the thermometer because I can't hear it ring with the headset. And suddenly this terrifying man came bursting into the office, Joe Dark. It seemed like he was running from someone. He pulled out a knife and screamed at me. I didn't know what was going on. Just then, Prosecutor Marshall showed up. Jake Marshall's brother. If anything, I'm colder than I should be. At least I have no fever. Well, that's good news. Right. Joe Dark tried to take me hostage, but before he could, Mr. Marshall tackled him. Then, what happened? I'll never forget it. Lightning struck and the lights went out. Suddenly, a bolt of lightning flashed outside the window, lighting up the office for an instant. What I saw then burned a permanent picture in my mind. I can still see it now. A permanent picture? I don't remember the moment when Dark stabbed Mr. Marshall, so you weren't able to testify about that. No, I was only asked about when I was attacked. That must be why she made up the crime. Made it up? You mean provided bogus evidence? The prosecutor's office wanted that guilty verdict so badly, Lana forged the evidence and Mr. Edgeworth used it. Yes, but I'm sure he didn't know anything about it. He couldn't have known he was being given false evidence. Even so, that's when it all started. The rumors about Mr. Edgeworth, I mean, it's all my fault. If I could have just testified properly, none of this would have happened. So it's true, even though he may not have known it. Edgeworth really was involved in falsifying evidence. After the case ended, Lana was never the same. She became cold like she is today. She must not have been able to face up to what she did, especially not to Emma. What did you see in the instant that crime occurred? Dark knocked down Mr. Marshall and raised his knife. Neil Marshall was stabbed right in front of this poor girl. I don't remember what happened after that. Apparently I passed out. When I came to, Lana was cradling me in her arms. Poor Emma. You've been through so much. So she must have been 14 at the time if she's 16 today. If that was 2 days ago. 2 years ago, sorry. I couldn't bring myself to testify about that instant. I tried, but the words just wouldn't come out. I drew a picture, but it wasn't any good. 2 years ago, you must have been 14, that's understandable. Once it was all over, I made up my mind. I decided that when I grew up, I'd become a scientific investigator. I want to be able to fight crime with my testimonies and find the evidence that make an airtight case. That way Lana would never have to forge any. I see. I think I'm finally starting to understand what makes Emma tick. But there's still something that bothers me about that crime. There's something that's puzzling me, Emma. What is it? You said you were in Lana's office at that time, right? That's right. Why then would a serial killer come running in there? Not only that, but he was being chased by a prosecutor? Oh, there's no mystery there. Okay, Joe Dark had been taken in for questioning that day. Taken in for questioning? You mean by the police? Of course. This happened at the police department. He tried to run away halfway through the interview and fled into my sister's office. But why did he run all the way over to your sister's office? Because the detective offices and the questioning room are right across from the elevator. But Lana was the chief prosecutor, wasn't she? No, silly, didn't I tell you? 2 years ago, Lana was a detective. Oh, she was the best in the entire force. That's news to me. Yeah, I didn't know. After the Joe Dark case, she was transferred to the prosecutor's office and made chief prosecutor. Lana used to be a detective, so she became a prosecutor and was given a job above Edgeworth, who was a prosecutor before she was. I'd better have another talk with her. I'm sorry, but I have to suck on that thing because it's soothing my throat. Lana. Mr. Wright, it seems I keep causing you trouble. Falsifying evidence. I didn't think you were the type. Criminals don't mind playing foul. Why should we? But Lana, if you're wrong, an innocent person might be found guilty. Believe me, I understand the risks. Lana, Emma told me about you. Oh? About how you were a detective 2 years ago, and how the SL9 incident was the reason for your transfer to the prosecutor's office. That's right. Could you fill me in on the details, especially about that unusual change of jobs? I suppose you have a right to know, Mr. Wright. A lot of revelations were uncovered at the trial today, not the least of which was the fact that this case is largely connected to another one 2 years ago. Evidence from that case was stolen as well, though I expected as much. I know how possessive Officer Marshall can be. That trial, it really wasn't fair, was it? I believed in you, Lana. I believed that no matter what happened, you'd always stick to the truth. It couldn't be helped, Emma. At that trial 2 years ago, I sold my soul. Well, all drama aside, the fact of the matter is, at 5:15 there was no murder at the police department. Tell me it's not true, Lana, what the witness, Miss Starr, said. About you stabbing Mr. Goodman with a knife. Lana, I don't understand. Why won't you tell us? Emma, this doesn't involve just me. I don't think I've ever seen Lana look so phased before. It's true, I was a member of the police force 2 years ago. She was amazing. You still talk about all the cases she and Chief Gant cracked together. Chief Gant? He was the deputy chief of police back then, but he still worked the crime scenes. Damon Gant, he was everything I aspired to be. They were the best team ever. They solved crimes before the reports could even be filed. Emma really idolizes her big sister. But now you're chief prosecutor. What happened? I always planned on becoming a prosecutor. The reason I became a detective was to gain experience investigating crime scenes, so you could use that experience in court, right? Gant's help in the SL9 case was crucial to its resolution. He's indeed that one. After that, he became chief of police and arranged my transfer to the prosecutor's office. Maybe I should ask him more about this investigation of theirs 2 years ago. 2 years ago, I was second in command of the detectives investigating Dark. Second in command? That means the investigation lead was Damon Gant, right? Yes, Deputy Chief Gant and I shared the same office and the same investigations. They even had the same office. We led a team of the best detectives on the force. Detective Goodman, whose case it was, Jake Marshall and Angel Starr. It was the first time Marshall worked with his brother. He was quite gung-ho. Without a doubt, Joe Dark was the serial killer. We asked him to come in for questioning. We were desperate for evidence. That was when his final murder took place, when he tried to murder Emma. Prosecutor Marshall was trying to save me from Dark. You see, the first person who happened upon the scene of the crime was me. Now you tell us. Damon Gant and Neil Marshall were the ones questioning Dark that day. The investigation was in its final stages and Dark must have suddenly panicked. So he waited until Gant and Marshall let their guards down and fled the room. From there he ran straight to the office shared by Deputy Chief Gant and myself. That's where he found me. So you were the first person to run to the scene, Lana? It appears so. I was filing some papers while Gant and Marshall were questioning Dark. When I returned to my office, I saw 3 bodies on the floor and smelled blood. Why is it with these people being able to smell blood? Although I've never been in presence of so much human blood that I could smell it, mind you, but... Anyway, 3 bodies, Prosecutor Marshall, the victim, Emma, who had passed out, and the suspect Joe Dark. During the struggle, it seems Mr. Marshall struck a final blow before he died. Joe Dark had incurred a minor concussion and lay unconscious. What did you do? To be honest, I panicked. I picked up Emma, carried her out of the room and just held her. I can't blame her after all her sister must have gone through. After that, I placed Dark under immediate arrest. Let me get this straight. You were all involved in the SL9 incident, that's right. Quite a coincidence. I don't buy it. What are you saying? There's no way everyone involved in this trial was also involved in that incident. Just by chance. But that case was solved 2 years ago. At least one person went to extremes because they didn't believe it was truly solved. Officer Marshall. Yeah, blah blah blah. Ever since his brother died, he's changed completely. I guess he wasn't convinced with the ruling against Joe Dark. Life doesn't end with the closing of a case. Everyone has to live the rest of their lives with their memories. That case just might not be over yet. Emma was assaulted by Dark at the police department, right? Yes, in the office that Damon Gant and I shared. The office that Mr. Gant now occupies by himself, the chief's office. Maybe we should have a look at the chief's office, the site of the final SL9 murder. I don't see Detective Gumshoe anywhere. Things seem kinda quiet around here today. You're right, the chief of detectives seems the same though. Why don't we go look for some other people to talk to? Right, we can come back here later. Oh, look who it is. Howdy, Bambina. Oh, Mr. Marshall. I never thought things turn out this way when I woke up this morning. Que sera, you never know where life will lead you, eh, Bambina? I should have known my luck had run out when old Billy dried up this morning. Billy? Must be his pet cactus. Say, where are you headed? Just over to the prosecutor's office for a little interrogation. It's a voluntary appearance, but we all know I won't be coming back. Sorry, but you can't go in the evidence room today, partner. But Mr. Marshall, why did you do it? Why do prospectors head west? If ever there was a case I needed to know the truth about, it was that one. Before you turn yourself in, Mr. Marshall, would you mind telling us exactly what happened? Looks like I won't be getting a steak lunch today. Something was fishy about that trial from the beginning. It wasn't just me either. All the detectives thought so. What do you mean fishy? Some of the facts reported were inconsistent with the evidence we found. For example, the murder weapon. The murder weapon, you mean the switchblade knife with the broken tip? That was Joe Dark's alright. But in the initial autopsy report the question was raised. A question? The blade of the knife was not a perfect match with the wound the victim sustained. What does that mean? It means there is a good chance that knife was not the murder weapon. However, in the report that was finally submitted, that possibility had been erased. Could the facts have been concealed with forged evidence? That case left behind scars on all of us. The scars that the SL9 incident left behind. I got the looks, but he got the brains. He was one of the best prosecutors around. I had just made detective when it went down. It was our first case together. How old was he, your brother? He was 27 at the time. He was awarded the highest honor to that very day. The highest honor? You mean the King of Prosecutors? I knew it. What are you looking at me like that for? That's an honor for a prosecutor. Mr. Marshall must have really been close with his brother. The day the SL9 incident took place, that wasn't the same day as... That's right. It was the day of the evidence transfer. Interesting. It was drizzling that morning, and by nightfall there was thunder. I can't believe 2 years have gone by already. I tried to steal the evidence so the case wouldn't die. Apparently someone tried to stop you. Detective Goodman was murdered, and the evidence locker was empty. There was something going on behind the scenes in that case. We all knew that later. Every detective involved in that investigation, save one, was taken care of. Miss Starr was fired, and I was demoted and boxed away in a tiny room. What about Detective Goodman? If they did something to him too, the commissioners would get suspicious. No, they were careful enough not to be too obvious. They? What are you talking about? Don't get upset, Mambina. I mean Damon Gaunt and Lana Sky. The investigation lead, Damon Gaunt, and his second-in-command, Lana Sky. There wasn't a person on the force who hadn't heard of that duo. That case was the biggest step in both of their careers. After the case ended, Lana transferred to the prosecutor's office, right? Yeah. Damon Gaunt, the new chief of police, arranged for that to happen. She's never been the same since she left. Everyone who knew her said so. Chief Prosecutor Sky was totally different when she was a detective. Now that he mentions it, Emma said something like that too. Tell me, what happened to my sister? Sorry, Bambina, but her secret is too well guarded. I never found out. Lana's secret. It all started 2 years ago. So there you have it. That's my story. Did you enjoy it, partner? It was certainly enlightening. There was one thing for sure I found out in court today. That boy Edgeworth isn't my enemy. He was the one who used falsified evidence to get a guilty verdict. But someone else was the one who gave him that evidence and planned everything. That someone is Damon Gaunt. Don't believe me? Well, I don't blame you. I won't even be a patrolman after today. Too bad I won't be around to work with you. When you become a real scientific investigator. Adios, Bambina. I think it's about time we paid Damon Gaunt's office a visit. Police station, criminal affairs department. This place is always pretty empty, but today it's deserted. That must mean everyone's busy solving crimes. Oh, if you're looking for the others, they're all in the conference room. Ah, thanks. Wow, we actually talked to us. With the chief prosecutor saying what she did and the decision about what to do about Mr. Edgeworth, not to mention our statement to the media and tomorrow's trial, there's more chaos going on than Thanksgiving and Christmas put together. I think festive is the word usually used for those. Sir, we'd like to have a look around Chief Gaunt's office. Just use the connecting hallway to the other building and take the elevator to the top floor. Really? You mean it's okay for us to go in there? I mean, we aren't police officers or anything. Hey, you're right, you can't go in there, it's off limits. Now I see where Detective Gumshoe gets his unique charm. Well, what are we waiting for? Let's head to the chief's office. Oh. There's an organ and everything. Pardon me. Oh man. In the chief's office, silly, at least that's what it said on the door. Check out that pipe organ, that's real, isn't it? Hey, I used to take organ lessons in kindergarten. They used to call me Little Miss Bach. I thought I was a genius, but... I never could remember where C was. Hmm? Oh, hey. Oh, it's you two. Chief Gaunt. He put the paper he was reading in his desk. So, Righto, have you been swimming lately? No I haven't. I've been kind of busy lately. I can appreciate that. Had my hands full too with Mr. Marshall's misconduct. Alana's provocative statement. Provocative statement? Oh, you mean about the forged evidence? 2 years have passed since that incident. My, how time flies. See that big picture on the wall over there? That's a picture of Lana, Neil, and me. So this is Mr. Marshall's brother, Prosecutor Neil Marshall. We took it to commemorate our work together. Something's not right with this picture. The vase, right? Can't quite seem to put my finger on it though. It's the same vase that was broken in the evidence room. If he hadn't said anything though, I wouldn't have noticed. Anyway, I'd like to reminisce all day, but there are matters that need my attention. I'm going to lock up here, so let's go out together. Oh, but this office, it was a crime scene 2 years ago, wasn't it? That case has long since been over. There was no need to investigate it anymore. All the same, would still like to have a look around. Perhaps you didn't hear me. I said there was no need to investigate it anymore. No, hurry up and get out. I have a meeting to attend. He's not gonna let me, is he? Looks like we aren't welcome. It seems that case isn't over with yet after all. What do you mean? Chief Gaunt denied our request to search the crime scene. That means there must be a reason it doesn't want us looking around in there. You mean like a clue? There's got to be a way we can get inside the chief's office. Yeah, I won't be much longer though, because that stream has been already going on for a while and I need to not use my voice too much. Let my throat rest. That should leave just enough content for tomorrow's stream, I should think. Let's try again. Hey pal, Detective Gumshoe, aren't you supposed to be in a meeting? I'm just taking a breather. My feet hurt. From sitting so long? Actually, from serving everyone coffee. Sounds like Detective Gumshoe is still out of the loop. Say, have either of you seen Mr. Edgeworth? Edgeworth? No, why do you ask? He's under fire from both the police department and the prosecutor's office. It's almost like the battles between you two in court. That sounds serious. Is it because of what my sister said? That's basically what it all boils down to. That falsified evidence 2 years ago. Now Mr. Edgeworth has the whole world after his blood. Yikes. But why would Edgeworth be blamed? It's not like he knew the evidence was forged. Lana Skye is the guilty party here, isn't she? Regardless, the prosecutor is responsible for the evidence they present in court. Not only that, but as you know, there have been a lot of rumors going around about Mr. Edgeworth. His amazing talent as a prosecutor has kept him safe from those who don't like him. But now with this, are there really so many people who hate him? In our world, only those with talent rise to the top. Mr. Edgeworth not only has that, but he's young. There is no better recipe I know of for making enemies. Hey, Dick, keep up the good work. Yes, sir. Let's go out for lunch again sometime. My treat. Yes, sir. You gotta take me back to that joint sometime, okay, Dick? Yes, sir. It seems you don't have any problems with enemies. Yeah, well, I'm careful not to stick out. Anyway, I'm a bit worried about him. Under all this pressure, I'm afraid Mr. Edgeworth just might crack. Actually, I took a look at the file earlier while the coffee was brewing. He seems genuinely concerned for Edgeworth. Well, did you find out anything? The only evidence Dark left behind was during his final attack. His final attack, you mean? When he killed Prosecutor Marshall, who was trying to protect some girl. Me. It seems Detective Gumshoe never realized Emma was the girl. That's when he left the most incriminating evidence of all. Well, what was it? Oh, let's see. I think it had something to do with the murder weapon. Oh, I forget. Look, it's all written somewhere in here, okay? His powers of recollection never failed to impress. Maybe we should show him the murder weapon. It might jog his memory. Let's first ask him about this. Joe Dark was 42 at the time of the crime. He was just your run-of-the-mill businessman. A businessman? What made him take to serial killing? One day on his way home from work, he hit someone with his car. So it was an accident. An accident, yes, but it transformed him into an animal. An animal? He killed a man, and kid walked by just then, so he killed him too. Then when he was burying, blah blah blah, yeah, it's scrolling automatically, so, okay. A jogger came upon the scene and was killed as well. Finally, he turned himself in. Seems he was a pretty careless animal. Of course, this is all conjecture. There wasn't a single shred of evidence. So he turned himself in. Yes, but in the middle of his questioning, he fled and murdered his final victim. Prosecutor Marshall. That crime was witnessed by someone too, but luckily Dark was arrested on the spot. It's a good thing that last witness wasn't killed. That last witness? AKA Emma. So I have to show him the murder weapon. Not this one. This one. About this. Hey, is that... It has a tag attached to it with the label SL9 incident on it. I believe this would be the broken murder weapon you were speaking of. What are you doing with that? Ever since that case was closed, that knife's been locked away in the locker. On the day Detective Goodman was murdered, this suddenly disappeared from the locker. But Damon Gaunt brought it to the trial, didn't he? I think he did. It was found in Mr. Edgeworth's car muffler. Ah, no, okay, so that's the one. That's it. Now I remember what that incriminating piece of evidence was. When you showed me that knife, it all came back to me. Well, what was it, Detective? Quick, before you forget again. This knife. It was Joe Dark's, wasn't it? That's right, we traced it back to the store he bought it at. Plus, it had his fingerprints on it, too. But no one actually witnessed him using it to murder anyone, right? That's where his luck ran out. When you take a good look at the knife, you'll see it's broken. You don't have to take a good look to notice that. Yeah, well anyway, take a guess where the broken off tip of the knife was found. That's what did him in. Where was it? The victim, Neil Marshall, was carrying it inside his own body. It was found deep inside the stab wound. Did it match Dark's knife? You bet, down to the last fiber. That's pretty conclusive. A knife tip was in the wound. Switchblade knife updated in the court record. Well, there you have it in a nutshell. That's all I know. Can I ask you one more thing? What is it? If it's money you need, you should ask Chief Gaunt. It's not money, but it does concern the Chief. His office is a crime scene, right? It's where Prosecutor Neil Marshall was murdered. The Chief's out now, and his office is locked, but we'd like to have a look around if that's okay. Well, any detective's ID card can unlock the door. What, really? But if I let the civilian in there, I'd be charged with breach of trust. Breach of trust? Simply put, I'd be canned. Oh, sorry, pal. I don't plan on getting fired because of you. How about this ID card? It was Detective Goodman's. That won't work either. The data was deleted the day he died. Oh. So in other words, Gumshoe is our only chance of getting into that office. I wonder if there's something we could show him that would make him change his mind. This, maybe. Hey, that's it. That's the King of Prosecutors Award that Mr. Edgeworth got the other day. Were you at the awards ceremony, Detective Gumshoe? Of course, man. I got an award for diligence myself. Ah, congratulations. I was wondering, why is the award a shield and why is it broken? Yeah, that's the exact same description as before, but I thought that might make him think of Edgeworth and want to help him, and thus convincing him to lend us his card. But, oh, there's a reason. I'll tell you what it is later. Okay. This guy almost made us lose the case today. What are you talking about? He was guarding the bloodstain on that evidence locker with his life. That's more than you can say about most officers nowadays. It would have saved us a lot of trouble if he hadn't guarded it so well. I have to admit he's right, though. Thanks to the Blue Badger, we were able to prove another possibility today. The possibility that another murder took place prior to 5:15 p.m. I need to show him something. Let me share a little advice with you, detectives. Yeah, right. About that jar, I think I've seen it before somewhere. Somewhere? Or maybe it's one of those memories people have from previous lives. This must be the most uninformed detective I've ever met. Something about it makes me feel uneasy. It's like I'm in Chief's office and he's yelling at me. Chief Gaunt? Where could I have seen that before? Nah, okay. The picture now. The picture now. After I've shown him this, show him the picture. It's on that picture, for God's sake. You're looking into the case for Mr. Edgeworth? Yeah, it was a pretty big deal while it was going on, you know. After all, a serial killer was on the loose, but Lana was pretty clear in her confession. She forged evidence in order to prove Joe Dark guilty. That's the ID card record, isn't it? Yes, there's only one number left to investigate at 4:20 p.m. The victim, Detective Goodman, must have entered the evidence room along with someone else, someone with an executive officer number. 777777777. That's 17 too many, Detective. An executive officer. I just might have a hunch. Yeah, I have a hunch too, but how do I get it across? That's the thing. You know Officer Marshall? Of course I do. He was like a mentor to me. When I first started out, he even gave me a small cactus. Really? He said Dick should listen to all your troubles. Note to self, Detective Gumshoe talks to a cactus. Hard to believe he's just a patrolman now. Someone ought to trade places with him. What? Why are you looking at me like that? No locker can be opened without a fingerprint match. Besides, there's no reason for the murderer to touch his own locker. Hey, wasn't your locker the one with the blood on it, detective? The handprint of the real murderer's gloved hand without any fingerprints. Shh, if they come to arrest me, you'll defend me, won't you? If that happens, I think you'll do better pleading with Edgeworth. I can't just keep showing him everything, right? So that's not working. I already tried that. I already tried that. That one too. Ah. Oh, a lost item report, huh? Very impressive, detective. You knew what it was right off the bat. Well, I am a master of misplacement, you know? Master that has such a cool ring to it. The way I see it, if things are meant to be lost, then they're meant to be lost. There's a higher power at work here. Wow, a higher power. Maybe I shouldn't let Emma hold any evidence. Hey, that powder is used for detecting fingerprints. Yeah, Miss Edgeworth gave it to us. You did what? All I have is some flour. Are you okay, detective? Quick, run! Achoo! If it's any help, one time I took a nap on a bench with wet paint. Why am I not comforted? I already showed him that. Hey, I just bought some of that stuff. Now I can go around detective blood traces too. Wow, is that a new type? I've never seen that bottle before. Add 3 inches to your base height. Base height? Hey, let me see that. Looming tall. New and improved growth formula. You mean this can't detect any blood traces? Well, it's not quite the same thing as luminol. So that's why the lady at the counter had that smirk on her face. About this. Yeah, we've already shown him that. Yeah, we've already been through that. When you showed me that knife, it all came back to me. Well, what was it? No, okay. No, that's the same remark from before then. Yeah, we've already been through all that. Yeah, anything you can tell us about it? That Miss Star is quite the lady. Why I remember it was winter. I was 16. She was the only one who ever got me to talk about what happened. 16? That's how old I am now. I wonder what happened. Let's see. Nah, he's not gonna react to that either. Of course someone else really did. Someone who must have a grudge against Mr. Edgeworth. I've already had that one before. Yeah. You show this to me every time we meet, pal. Real men show their police badge. Enough said. I wish I had the badge. Even an ID card would be nice. I don't know what else to do. I think I've presented him with every single piece of evidence I have. supposed to move somewhere else or what? And then move back to it? Nah, he's still there. What am I supposed to do here? Bear with me, please. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, I'm on to day 3 investigation. I'd like to be done with that at least. Oh, I need to go somewhere else before coming back to him, I guess. Yeah, okay. No one's here today, not even Miss Starr. Everyone's probably busy looking into what exactly went down in the evidence room. That must be where detectives are. But we proved in court the other day that on the day of the crime, no one was murdered in the evidence room at 5:15. Yeah, I thought we were finally making some headway in our case, but instead it looks like we just ended up making Lana look even more guilty. Hang in there, Lana. I've got to find all the answers by tomorrow. I think I've already read that, right? Or am I getting deja vu? High Prosecutor's Office. I wonder if Edgeworth is back yet. There he is. It looks like he's writing something. What are you doing here? He sure was quick to throw that paper on the floor. Though, tough day in court, huh? I've had to live the past 2 years with rumors flying around. What's another allegation to me? Cheer up, Mr. Edgeworth, I'm rooting for you. That's Edgeworth for you, always trying to hide his real feelings. So what do you want? Unlike some people, I don't have all day. Yeah, he's in trouble, obviously. There's no excuse for what I've done. 2 years ago, I used false evidence to obtain a guilty verdict. That's what it all breaks down to, and nothing I can do can erase that fact. But you didn't know, did you? I mean, the evidence was falsified. The police department and the prosecutor's office share a bond of trust. If that bond is broken, we stand to lose everything. The police department's error is my error. My responsibility as the prosecutor in charge. That fact remains the same, no matter what excuses I might have. Mr. Edgeworth, I take pride in my work, so tell me why. Why has it all come to this? Even Edgeworth can't keep this kind of emotion bottled up. Are you up for the trial tomorrow? First last year's trial and now this one. It seems all you do is worry about me. To be honest, you're getting on my nerves. But Mr. Edgeworth, you can't just walk out on the trial. Tomorrow is the last day. It's too late to change prosecutors. I'll bet that's what my superiors are banking on. I never thought that case would come back to haunt me like this. What do you mean? The list of evidence, it seems too short. Most lists run twice as long. It's only half as long as most lists. That is odd. After Neil Marshall was murdered, I became prosecutor for that case. I may not have been part of the investigation, but I knew what I had to do. Use the evidence was given to prove the suspect guilty. That was really the only thing on my mind at the time. Say, we just saw a picture taken around that time. That picture, something seemed strange about it. Could you tell us again about what happened that day? The day Detective Goodman was murdered? You were participating in a ceremony over at the station, right? I've never cared for ceremonies, but I had to attend that one. Because you were awarded this? Those receiving awards can't exactly skip out on the ceremony. I finished up at the office in the morning and drove over to the police department. You finished up at the office? Yes, just odds and ends, clerical stuff. I didn't plan on returning to the office that day. That is, until I was asked to take something back. Take something back? This. Oh yeah, Chief Gaunt asked you to hold on to that, didn't he? Yes, it was a piece of evidence in a case that was closed half a year ago. He asked me to bring it back to the prosecutor's office. That's the story we heard yesterday. So you came back here to the prosecutor's office because the chief asked you to? That's right. This picture was hanging on the wall in Chief Gant's office. How do they have a copy, by the way? Prosecutor Neil Marshall had just started making a name for himself. There's a sword on the shield in that picture. Looks like this was taken when he received the King of Prosecutors trophy. Speaking of that, there's something that bothers me. Yes? The trophy Mr. Marshall is holding is a little different than yours. Yes, you're right. Ah, I remember now. Remember what? That was the official prosecutor's trophy. That was what the official prosecutor's trophy looked like until 2 years ago. There's a story behind its design. A story? Sounds interesting. Would you mind telling it to us? It's simple, really. Contradiction. That's what the award's based on. This award originates from an ancient Chinese tale. In Chinese, the word contradiction is written with 2 characters. The first means Albert, and the second means shield. Have you heard this story? Me? Oh, sure. Everyone knows that. Why don't you tell it, though, for Emma's sake? Very well. Long ago, in the kingdom of Chu, there was an arms merchant. One day he presented the king with 2 items. The first was a halberd he claimed could slice through any shield or armor. The second was a shield he claimed could withstand any weapon. Wait a minute. Objection. Those claims contradict each other. Very perceptive, but then again, you've heard this story before, right? Anyway, as you mentioned, the very descriptions of these items discredit them both. When the king pointed this out, the merchant was left speechless. And thus the Chinese word contradiction was born. Oh, I see. So the chipped shield and broken knife symbolize... Precisely so, they symbolize the merchant's items. The ancient tale ends with the merchant at a loss for words. But it's in our nature to pursue matters to their conclusion, even if it results in something as ugly as this. Wow, thanks, Mr. Edgeworth. I learned something new today. That's funny. If that's so, then why were you only given a shield? You'll have to ask Chief Gant. 2 years ago, he had the Albert part of the award abolished. Chief Gant, King of Prosecutors trophy updated in the court record. Excuse me. Ah, it's her again. Would either of you care for a quarter-pound of roast beef? Miss Star, I guess she's out of lunches. You certainly are the curious sort, aren't you? Kind of like the first person who sucked a cow nipples to discover milk. Still, I never thought you'd go digging up that case from 2 years ago. Everyone in this trial was involved in the SL9 incident. Not only that, but the murder occurred on the very day the evidence from that case was due for transfer. This can't all be attributed to mere coincidence. Aren't you forgetting something? You know that little scene I happened to witness? The instant Lana stabbed Detective Goodman with a knife. No matter how much of the past you dig up, it won't change what I saw. Roast beef is meant to be savored when eaten. Miss Star's hatred toward Lana. It all dates back to 2 years ago. Joe Dark, that's a name I'll not soon forget. We trailed him for half a year. Oh, the pressure. Still, I don't think I was ever more alive than I was then. Those days were steamier than a bowl of hot gravy. Poor old Jake Marshall, though. Must have been going through hell. You mean because of his brother's death? They were close, those two. After Neil died, something took over Jake. He became obsessed. Seeing Jake like that made her all the more desperate. Her? Lana Skye. My sister. The best of the best were put on that SL9 case. Of course, they were led by that legendary duo. Lana and Chief Gant. That legendary pair was the reason we were able to keep up our investigation. That's why we were so shocked over how it turned out. You mean with the forging of the evidence? Don't get me wrong, Joe Dart got what he deserved. Still, it was obvious the evidence produced in court was being manipulated. Items our team never found would suddenly appear, while other items were kept secret. But you don't have proof anything illegal was done. I'm proof enough of what happened. After that case, yeah, okay. Most without even so much as an explanation. Then Lana Skye transferred to the prosecutor's office and became chief prosecutor. Lana always wanted to be a prosecutor. Nothing's quite as simple as it appears. Huh? Lana Skye was merely being used as a pawn. That's my take on the matter. She was being used? Demon Gant and Lana Skye. Gant led the investigation with Lana second in command. They were the best. They solved all kinds of cases together, didn't they? Demon Gant's magnetism in particular was almost unreal. Is magnetism? By that I mean his ability to attract evidence. It produced the most incredible evidence in the cases handled. Incredible evidence, you mean? Oh yes, there were rumors about him even back then. No one dared confront him though. I take it she's talking about forged evidence. Back then everyone looked up to Lana. All the detectives wanted to be like her. Really? Oh yes, myself included. I was a fool really. She hated anything crooked and always watched out for the other detectives. That's why she was so concerned for Jake. Mr. Marshall, when Jake's brother was murdered, she felt as if she had lost her own brother. If it wasn't for her, I don't think Jake would ever have recovered from his shock. That's what makes it all the more infuriating. Miss Starr, that's why I'll never be able to forgive her. Why did she have to turn so cold after that? Lana transferred to the prosecutor's office 2 years ago, didn't she? Yes, thanks to Chief Gant's powerful influence. Chief? That's right. Having solved the SL9 case, his position as chief was secured. There was only one thing left for him to control, and then no one could stand in his way. The prosecutor's office. What? You mean that's why Lana was transferred? If he could control the chief prosecutor, he could control the prosecutor's office. That must have been his goal all along. But how could he control Lana? I don't know, but one thing's for sure. Ever since that case ended, she's never been the same. It's only logical to conclude there must have been a reason for her change. At last, I'm finally getting close to the bottom of this ugly mess. Thank you, Miss Starr. You listened to me, rookie. It takes more than just ingredients to create fine cuisine. I hope you turn out to be a better chef than I've been. Alright, I'm gonna have to end the stream, unfortunately. I'm just gonna move to this place before I end things. Oh, you're back. You're still here? I gotta make 150 copies of these files. Brewing coffee, cupping files. I'm turning into a regular DJ. You're a DJ as well? If I'm not mistaken, I think he means desk jockey. Oh, that DJ. I gotta admire your persistency, but my answer is still no. I'm not letting you in the chief's office, period. Yeah. That office is the last crime scene in the SL9 incident. I have to take a look in there. There's got to be something we can do to make the detective change his mind. Yeah, that's gonna have to wait until next time though, unfortunately. Because I have to head out and my voice needs to rest anyway. So thanks guys for watching. Well, tomorrow will be the finale. I will be finishing off this game tomorrow. Well, not the trilogy on Switch, but at least the first game of the trilogy. So there's that. Okay guys, thank you guys for watching. Yeah, no problem RNG. I'll be back tomorrow then for the rest of the game. Yep. Thanks. You have a good day too, and see you tomorrow. See ya everyone tomorrow.